Good afternoon, everybody. Mr. President, dear Volodymyr, dear friend.
I welcome.
Come a friend to Oslo today, and Norway welcomes a friendly country, Ukraine. It's the second time you come to us, Mr. President, since Russia's full-scale invasion in February 2022. And we have met frequently, we are in close touch, and we really share your... I met you in Kiev a few weeks ago. We met in London recently. So we now have very close contact among European allies and partners.
And let me
reiterate on behalf of all of Norway's political life that you impress us with your leadership, endurance and consistent fight for Ukraine's independence and sovereignty. And in that sense, you also fight for values that are very important for all of us. We have just had a couple of hours of continued talks, following up on the contact that we have regularly. And let me just give you the main points of our discussion first. We share your goal, a free, independent and sovereign state of Ukraine. I know that no one wants peace more than you. No one wants peace more than the Ukrainian people who are suffering from attacks and fighting and losses and pain. And your fight and right to self-defense has our full support from day one. And it's still es como abordamos esto. Trabajamos en estrecha colaboración en sectores como la energía, la tecnología y las industrias de defensa. Y acabamos de intensificar esa ayuda. Help significantly. Secondly, we fully support your ongoing efforts to get a ceasefire and then negotiations for a fair, just and lasting peace. Ukraine should be put in the best position to deal with such an end of this conflict. And Ukraine has to have a place at the table when these decisions are taken. We commend your engagement with the United States and President Trump, your communications with him, with European partners, the French and British leadership among European NATO allies. And we believe that the strong European voice is important when Ukraine's future is being discussed. You come from Finland. Finland and Norway are close partners. President of Finland and I are working closely together to support you from our perspective in Europe. And thirdly, the President has updated us on the situation currently, what happens, what you need, urgently, short-term, and in the long-term perspective. And let me just say that the tripling of Norwegian defense support to Ukraine, which has been agreed by unanimous Parliament, is now being immediately translated into support for artillery, ammunition, for drone capacity, and also for investment in Ukraine's own industry. So, Mr. President, this is a partnership that we take forward every day, and you can count on that support. It is the right of a sovereign country to resist aggression, and you have our full support in that fight. And again, you are among friends, and I'm very happy to see you here. Thank you, Volodymyr.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. This is my second time with you, and I'm doing it
With great gratitude.
Mekola. To your country, to the people, to you personally. Honorable Prime Minister, honorable attendees, honorable journalists, dear Norway.
Cossack support.
Thank you. Thank you for our joint work, for our meeting today. It's very warm, and it's a very specific meeting, very useful. Norway, throughout 3 years of this war, absolutely fundamentally, we do not forget, and will not forget this, absolutely fundamentally, on the side of justice, common sense, on the side of protecting life. You and immediately understood what was happening, but we have talked about this many times. they were saying what this war truly brings and has brought Russia has brought our homes to us, and for that we can thank you for very, very significant support, financial support that helped. Your support greatly helped us in our resilience. I am especially grateful for the energy support. I addressed you, Mr. Prime Minister, and we are very thankful that Norway supported us in this, helping us get through the winters of this war, which were some of the most challenging. Volodymyr Zelensky. Such winters when Russia targeted our energy system, but Ukrainians endured. We were able to meet the basic needs of our people. We managed to preserve independence. And now, together with everyone in Europe, we are working on restoring peace, guaranteeing security, which we need it that way. I hope Norway's role in this will continue to be significant in our work with all partners. Concerning diplomacy now and future security guarantees, Europe, America, Western Europe, America, all our partners in the world must work together. I hope that Norway will be part of the efforts to ensure security, and I want to highlight your recent decision, Norway's decision to increase support for Ukraine this year to almost 8 billion United States dollars. This really adds to our long-term confidence. This is a very strong, very serious contribution. It is especially important precisely at such a moment. There was already a moment when diplomacy became significantly more active. For ending this war, it is indeed, I agree with you, very important that in these diplomatic steps, Ukraine is in excellent shape, is resilient. I thank you very much for what you are doing, dear Jonas. We emphasize that only Roman on strong positions, indeed Ukraine can pursue strong diplomatic work and a truly reliable end to the war. We wish for this more than anyone else in the world, which is fair, because the war is on the territory of our land, our country. The continuation of pressure on Russia is necessary so that Putin stops manipulating and takes concrete steps that the entire world wants. In particular, one of the first such steps should to be silent. Yes, now we are speaking, and the United States and other partners, that silence in the sky. There can be a halt to strikes on energy, infrastructure, and a halt to strikes on people, on civilian infrastructure. A ceasefire at sea can be considered realistic. Safe navigation also we have to come to a ceasefire. Zelensky. Everywhere on the territory of our state. These are important steps for all sides. But first of all, everyone saw that Ukraine is insanely, Bohdan Butkevich, defiantly, they agree. And we are waiting for the aggressor to agree to this. Well, at least we hope the partners will pressure Russia. Certainly it is important for us to return the prisoners of war, to bring back our civilians, to return all people, to bring children home. The process of this, Volodymyr Zelensky, the season is challenging, difficult. Every day we strive to achieve results. Yesterday was...
Indeed, yes. Such, a moment of happiness.
More than 190 people returned home and 190 families. And it's like,
Such moments are so eerie.
See creepy moments.
Wars, they always go hand in
moments
hand.
of tragedy, moments of happiness when relatives met their loved ones at home. These are important diplomatic steps, and we are very much relying on diplomacy aimed at Russia.
We spoke today with the Prime Minister.
Mr. Minister, about specific
if
ways
not
of...
about ours.
We are already grateful for NASAMS in terms of defensive capabilities. As I mentioned, they have not let our people down and have protected against missile strikes in Russia. It is important for us to continue relying on production, on investments in defense production, our free industries, which we can create, which we can and must develop. I am sure that Europe now needs a new wave of such industrial and technological development so that the continent has everything necessary for defense and Europe is more independent, stronger in today's global competition.
To choose.
Here, they had good modern jobs. And also, we must give more collective attention to the development and protection of infrastructure. We, through our experience, we talk about it, emphasize that this is very important. Everyone sees how much danger there is now for the security of underwater infrastructure in European seas due to hostile activity. Also, everyone sees how challenges are changing due to the development of drones. And these are new challenges, absolutely new technological challenges for which each country needs its own, in our opinion, it must have its own response. Also more work with others in Europe for the sake of security. Ukraine is ready to join Bohdan Butkevich appropriate efforts. And also I invite, and we are working with Norway within the existing security onboard coalitions. And I'm very glad that we have such a partnership in the development of coalitions and air defense and other technological coalitions. We can also do much more together in the production of various types of drones, which is currently rapid in Ukraine. It is cheaper and it is effective. In practice, we see these, and I think we are the most efficient today, the fastest in Europe or among them. Nevertheless, I am confident that together with Norway, we will provide significantly more security to our peoples and the future of Europe. Thank you again for the invitation. Now, Volodymyr Zelensky, all sincere help to Norway. It's very nice to be your guest. Thank you. Glory to Ukraine. Kringer, glory to Ukraine.
So, now we will open up for questions. And the first question comes from the Norwegian broadcaster Television 2.
Good day, Mr. President. I will ask the question in English by popular demand from the press corps. After the last week's events in negotiations about a ceasefire, what are your realistic hopes now? When can such a ceasefire enter into force? And if I may add, there seems to be different kinds of understanding in Moscow and Washington at the moment about what a limited ceasefire could mean. What items are included? What is your understanding? Does this proposal for a limited ceasefire include both civilian infrastructure and energy supply infrastructure, or just one of them?
Thank you for the question. I will proceed from the assumption that Volodymyr Zelensky, and I heard about what we agreed upon with the American side before their contacts with the Russians. And then my last conversation with President Trump, after his conversation with the Kremlin, we proposed from the very beginning a ceasefire in the sky and at sea, because this is Volodymyr Zelensky. It is not so difficult to control as a first step, because there was no belief that the Russians would agree to any ceasefire. Because in our opinion, they want to continue destroying us, they want to continue the war, to put it briefly. But the American side told us, no, they want to end the war. Well, we want to end the war. So, if anyone will argue, let's then take the appropriate steps quickly. And at the meeting in Jeddah, the American side made a leap or step forward quickly and said, let's talk not about a partial ceasefire, but a ceasefire everywhere. We reacted immediately. Right at the meeting, we responded. My team contacted me because this was a change of the agenda they were traveling with. I said, right away, we confirm. We confirm. We want to move towards ending the war. Yes. And everyone was very happy. Overall, I believe it was a successful meeting. Moreover, I consider it our first bilateral meeting with such a positive result, despite its duration of almost 9 hours. So what is important is that after this, there was contact between the Americans and the Russians, and again, Volodymyr Zelensky. It seems to me that people took a step back because they started talking about a partial ceasefire. Look, well, we are ready, Volodymyr Zelensky. It is better to take steps forward, but we are ready, in partnership with the Americans, to take a step back now and talk about a partial ceasefire. Today, from what we talked about with President Trump, the content is as follows. Ceasefire concerning the security of the energy systems of both countries. Fire. That means without any attacks on the energy infrastructure, and also, as it sounds, and also other civilian infrastructure. I raised this issue with President Trump and said, then, in my opinion, our side will prepare civilian infrastructure objects that, in our opinion, are of interest. The structure. That is, I do not want there to be different understandings of what the parties will agree on, or, let's say, God willing, the parties will agree at the next meeting, which will be on Monday in Saudi Arabia. Our technical teams will be there. I understand that the structure is such that it will be a meeting between Ukraine and America. And then, as the American partner said, shuttle diplomacy, and then America with Russia, or it could be parallel meetings in one country.
On the same topic,
He said,
what am I
on
talking
that-
to you about?
The next question comes from Bloomberg.
Bloomberg question to you, Mr. President. Regarding the energy infrastructure involved in discussions, is it only the Zaporizhia nuclear plant that's being discussed in terms of United States taking ownership, or are any other Ukrainian energy assets being considered as part of any potential agreement?
Volodymyr Zelensky, thank you for the question. All nuclear power plants belong to the people of Ukraine. These are state nuclear power plants. This is ours. It is not private property. Energy, nuclear energy. In Ukraine, yes. We have thermal generation. There is green energy. There is private. There is private partnership. And there is fully private energy. This is completely understandable and correct. Volodymyr Zelensky. But all nuclear facilities belong to the state of Ukraine and the temporarily occupied Zaporizhia region in the city of Enerhodar, where this occupied plant is located. It also belongs to the Ukrainian state, and everyone recognizes this. By the way, the IAEA recognizes it, and various international institutions recognize it. Moreover, the personnel working there are those who have consistently received salaries from Ukraine, from the state of Ukraine, and they are citizens of Ukraine. Yes, they changed the management. At the station, the Russians unlawfully changed and so on. But all the staff, all the professionals, all the nuclear specialists there, Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukrainians, do you know how they keep them there? They took many of their children, put them on buses, and took them to the territory of the Russian Federation. That's how people work. That's right. Well, what can you do? You would do anything for your child, everything. I am sure you think the same. As a father, I can tell you, it's a fact. And therefore, the issue of the nuclear station, which is not operational, which is dangerous because it is maintained, but it is not properly maintained. Despite the oversight there from the International Atomic Energy Agency Commission and the presence of constant inspection, everyone understands that it needs to be cooled. For this, proper technical support is constantly needed. After the Russians blew up the dam, there is no normal water supply there. So, it is a complicated process. The station is in very difficult technical conditions. The question that the Americans are asking us, I don't know if they discussed it with the Russians or not. President Trump asked me, what do you think about this station? I told him that it works. If it doesn't work in Ukrainian, it won't work for anyone. It's illegal, and she won't be able to. And we can't just manage the station because it's state-owned. The question is if, and we've heard these voices, if the Americans are thinking about it, like Volodymyr Zelensky, find a way out of this situation. They want to take it from the Russians and want to invest to modernize. That is a different issue. This question is open. We can talk about it, but we certainly did not discuss the issue of ownership with President Trump. Moreover, we did not discuss the messages you are talking about now. I have already seen such messages in the press. Volodymyr Zelensky. Overall, we will not discuss generation in Ukraine. Today we have 15 ATMK units operational. These all belong to our state. We are connected to the European network. For us, this is a serious guarantee of energy security.
The next question comes from the Norwegian broadcaster NRK.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. In March 2022, you said you were willing to discuss neutrality, which implies no to NATO membership. Is that a question that you still are willing to discuss neutrality?
Volodymyr Zelensky. I never said that I was ready to discuss the neutrality of Ukraine. That never sounded. It was the Russians who raised this question when they came to us with an ultimatum to us. The first ultimatum, which was in the document, it was written, Putin, they didn't even propose. They demanded that we reduce the Ukrainian army, I don't remember exactly, to 50 or 70,000. Imagine the difference. Now this army is holding back the Russians. It's 800,000. So imagine what they wanted. 50 to 80,000, the Ukrainian army. Neutrality, meaning non-alignment, right? Any kind of non-alignment, basically. Then they wanted us to recognize the occupied territories as Russian. And there was a lot of other stuff. We always said that we don't quite understand what we're discussing. It's an ultimatum. This is not a proposal to end the war.
And the last question goes to AFP.
Pierre from AFP. Mr. President, President Trump reportedly is considering recognizing Crimea as Russian territory as part of a bid to end the war. Did you discuss this during your conversation with him yesterday? And generally speaking, have United States officials ever mentioned in their contacts with Ukraine that there would be a will to recognize some occupied territories as Russian? Thank you.
By the way, I would like to finish before this. The esteemed journalist, she asked the question about neutrality. If it was a question of NATO, and if that is what you mean when you say neutrality, yes, outside of NATO, then I have always said, unfortunately, they do not take us into NATO. We really want it. And we believe that it would solve many problems and many questions. Today we talked with Jonas. We talked, when people are looking for ways to strengthen our army, strengthen how to allocate money if there were many military personnel, where should we conduct training, where to hold exercises, when, what contingent should be involved, who is in the sky, who is at sea, or can we simply have NATO, make it NATO? It's simpler, less costly, and so on. But again, there's nothing to discuss. The United States of America, as the main ally in NATO, does not support it. Ukraine in NATO. Today, that is the case. I believe that you cannot just give these to the Russians. I think that it is a big gift to remove this topic from negotiations. I just believe that it is wrong. That is my opinion regarding your question about Crimea, the Ukrainian peninsula, Crimea. Trump did not raise this issue with me. We once talked with him about Crimea back in September in New York. He was simply interested in how it looks, what is in it, why Ukrainians, love it so much, because he heard that Ukrainians really love Crimea. And just that we simply talked about it. I told him that it is unique nature, it is our integral part, it is our Ukrainian peninsula. Besides all things, I don't want to take up time now. Besides, Boran Butkovich, things understood that without Ukrainians, Crimea is dying, because all logistics are connected to mainland Ukraine. Water, logistics, and most importantly, what about tourism? Bogdan Burkevich. What is the most important for tourism? And Crimea, it's first of all unique nature.
The sea, nature, that's tourism.
Volodymyr Zelensky, what is the most important thing for tourism? Everyone will tell you. Tourists?
There is no tourism in Crimea.
In Crimea, 11 years to Crimea.
There's no here in the summer 3 million tourists, 2,800,000 are Ukrainians. This is the answer. You can do whatever you want. 5-star hotels, many different buildings, but you won't bring in millions of tourists. Ukrainians vacation there because it's their peninsula and nobody can do anything about it. People there now have no salaries. There's nothing there. Everything is just, simply dying, all this nature.
And on that note, we need to wrap up this press conference. Thank you.
You didn't answer. No, sorry. I'm sorry. It's okay.
Oh, sorry.